Hello everybody and welcome back to more political chatter. In this video we will be talking about my final New Hampshire Republican primary prediction. We are finally at this point. 1 week ago exactly, the Iowa caucuses did take place. Of course, Donald Trump, experienced a resounding victory there, and it was a huge blow to Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley. Even though Ron DeSantis did place a pretty unexpected third, it did not result in any sort of momentum or any sort of hope for his donors or from his donors for his campaign. And just yesterday, he surprisingly, shockingly exited the presidential race. We only had any word that this might happen just like an hour before it happened. So it was really a shock to everyone. And he is out of the race. So we are looking to New Hampshire with just a two-person race mainly, just Trump and Nikki Haley, along with Texas pastor Ryan Binkley. But my Iowa prediction was pretty close. I had Trump over 50%. There were two things that I got pretty good. Trump over 50%, which was true, and more importantly, the vast majority of people failed to predict DeSantis would come in second, Haley would come in third, because basically all polls were showing Haley in second, DeSantis in third. But I accurately predicted that DeSantis would place second and Haley third. So I'm proud of myself for that. And now we have my New Hampshire prediction. So with Ron DeSantis out of the race, with Chris Christie out of the race, with only two major candidates left, Trump and Haley, I believe my final prediction in New Hampshire is that Donald Trump wins by 14.3%, a margin of 14.3%. He wins 56.5% of the primary and, of course, wins the primary. Nikki Haley places second with 42.2%. Ryan Binkley with 0.2%. He probably won't do as good as he did in Iowa, because in Iowa he was campaigning there for months on end and really hasn't spent much time in New Hampshire at all. And then, of course, like 25 names are on the New Hampshire ballot, because all you have to do is be a natural-born citizen and pay $1,000 as a filing fee. And that's it. So we have a bunch of candidates on the ballot in both parties. So it is fair to say that about 1.1% of the vote will go to random other people. So this is my final prediction. I think that Trump wins by 14.3%. And I was thinking that this would be a bit closer a little while ago. I mean, if we look back, there were a few polls that were showing a really close race. I mean, it wasn't from a very trustworthy pollster, but a American research group or something along those lines, the name of the group, showed like a week ago the race tied 40% to 40% between Haley and Trump. I mean, a CNN poll had Trump up by just 7, not this one, but one from a little while back, had him up by 7, Trump up by 7. So we were seeing some pretty close polls. But in these recent days and week about leading up to the primary, Trump has really just been able to expand his lead. Right about at the time of Iowa, it was looking like this would be really close. But then Iowa happened. Nikki Haley placed third instead of second. That kind of stunned her momentum, her growth in the state of New Hampshire. And then, majorly, even though they wasn't look like they were going to have much impact on this primary at all, Vivek Ramaswamy and Ron DeSantis drop out, both of which endorse Trump. And I'm not going to say that all of Ron DeSantis' support is going to Trump. And, I mean, he was only polling at 6% in New Hampshire, so it's not like it's super detrimental, like 20% or something. But not all of it went to Donald Trump. There are a lot of a few of DeSantis' supporters who just don't want Trump to be the nominee, so they're going to Haley instead of Trump. But Vivek Ramaswamy, importantly, because in probably most polls around the time of Iowa, Vivek was actually ahead of DeSantis in New Hampshire. DeSantis was in fifth in New Hampshire when Trump, Haley, Christie, Ramaswamy, DeSantis in a lot of polls, just to show you how little impact DeSantis was having in New Hampshire. But I mean, Ramaswamy and DeSantis dropping out, both endorsing Trump. I mean, Ramaswamy was at 7, not super insignificant. And all of that, I mean, DeSantis, a lot of his support is going to Haley, but all of Vivek's voters are going to Donald Trump. So we had these two events where a couple candidates drop out, and Haley places third in Iowa, and it's not helping her campaign at all. We are seeing Donald Trump in these final days really stretch far and ahead in New Hampshire. Now it's not really looking like a competition. On average, from Real Clear Politics, Trump leads by 17.5. A CNN poll just yesterday shows Trump widens the lead in New Hampshire over Haley now to double digits. And we're finally at these final two, but it's not necessarily looking like it's helping Trump. If DeSantis and Ramaswamy were still both in the race, then we would see a bit closer of a contest, I think, between Haley and Trump. But with both of them gone now, 2016 we were saying how much there needed to be just a two-person race in New Hampshire. If you look at the primary, there were 16 more than 16, but 16 major candidates on the ballot, going from Trump to Jim Gilmore. So this anti-Trump vote, I mean, Trump won only 35% of the vote. That is nothing. But he was still able to dominate because you had all of this anti-Trump vote split between so many candidates. John Kasich did not run a successful campaign, but because of how split this anti-Trump vote was, he resulted in second place somehow, even though he should not have gotten second place. I mean, Kasich, Cruz, Bush, Rubio, Christie all split that remaining about 65% of the vote. So it resulted in Donald Trump winning a big victory. And, we said if the non-Trump candidates had simply found who would be the alternative to Trump in the primary, then Trump would have been crushed. And the fact that Trump only won 35% of the vote proves that. But we are in a different day and age. Donald Trump controls the entire Republican Party. MLK Jr.'s son just died. Anyway, but we are in a different day and age, and Donald Trump absolutely dominates this party. And Haley doesn't really stand a chance, to put it quite frank. I mean, in Iowa, he wins over a majority of the votes when in 2016 we don't have. Oh yeah, we can get 2016 here. When in 2016 he won 25% of the vote. I mean, in some of these counties in northwestern Iowa, he was placing fourth in some of them, besides Trump, behind Cruz, Rubio, and Ben Carson. I mean, that just shows you where he was in Iowa in 2016, and then when you look back, in 2024, he wins a majority of the votes here. So, I mean, it definitely goes to show, that Donald Trump now controls this party, and it is his party at this point, and no one, again, really stands a chance when he was winning 35% of the New Hampshire primary vote in 2016. And that really was considered his base, and he wasn't really going to win much farther than that, even if all the other candidates agreed on running only one candidate. If all that rest of the 65% went to one candidate, he or she would have beaten Trump. But now, people have a very different opinion on Trump, and a lot of that rest of the 65% back in 2016, they, have had a, personal political revolution or whatever change, and they are with Donald Trump. I mean, we have to keep in mind that he is considered basically the incumbent in this race. I mean, he was the president of the United States. He was the Republican Party's president, the country's president, but he was a Republican. I mean, it's not like Donald Trump, was like a president 20 years ago. No, the Trump presidency is still fresh in people's minds, and he really is considered the incumbent in a lot of voters' minds, and that is why we are seeing him be so successful in this race. But as for New Hampshire, again, Trump dominates in polls. There is no path to victory, really, for Nikki Haley here. But it has to be said, where do you even go from after New Hampshire? In Nevada, Haley is not even going to be on the Republican. She's not going to receive any delegates at all because there's controversy. She filed to run in the state-run primary, and if you do that, then you can't participate in the caucus, and the party awards delegates through the caucus system. So we're literally looking at a Trump versus Binkley race in the caucuses. So Trump is going to win like 98% of the vote here, and then you head on to South Carolina, Nikki Haley's home state. And to be honest, I really don't see her taking or staying in the race this long. But if you do, I mean, if you have lost every state, New Hampshire was supposed to be your base here to give you momentum, and then you lost New Hampshire. And then with Trump leading in South Carolina by 30 plus percentage points, she can't win South Carolina, and then she's absolutely done. But I don't think that she stays in after New Hampshire. I mean, if she loses New Hampshire, which I think she will, I think she, quite frankly, is done after New Hampshire. If she wins New Hampshire still, there's no path to victory. That might be the only state that she wins, even if she does win it. But without it, I mean, especially if you don't win it, you're obviously not getting anywhere in this race, because then you're not winning your home state of South Carolina, and that's an embarrassment. But yeah, this primary really is over. I think that there is a much higher chance right now of the Democratic nominee being Dean Phillips, Marianne Williamson, or someone else than Donald Trump losing this Republican nomination. So, again, my final prediction, I have Trump at 56.5%, Nikki Haley at 42.2%, Ron Binkley at 0.2%, and 1.1% going to others. So thank you all for watching this video. I really hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all in a little bit covering my final Democratic primary prediction.